Phyllis is not okay. Her son's wife was murdered, and then the redhead was kidnapped, held captive, and nearly died. Now life is piling on. Young and restless is steering Red toward a mammoth meltdown that will have repercussions for not one, but two couples in Genoa City. Phyllis was devastated when Daniel's longtime love, Heather, was murdered in their apartment. But what really dialed up Phyllis' stress was her son being framed for the homicide. If that wasn't bad enough, she suspected her longtime nemesis was responsible for all of it, and she wasn't wrong. Although it turned out Sharon was being drugged and didn't kill Heather, she did dump her body in the river and frame Daniel. Despite the extenuating circumstances, Phyllis' hostility toward Sharon remained. So it was extra aggravating to find herself kidnapped and locked up in an abandoned psychiatric clinic with the blonde. Although part of their captivity involved working through their issues with each other, Sharon and Phyllis were traumatized anew by the entire experience, given they were tortured like lab rats and came this close to losing their lives before being rescued. While Sharon might have been the most likely candidate to come out of it all with major mental strain, instead it's been Phyllis who has visibly struggled. In what appears to be the lastest in an increasingly long line of mental health-themed plots, Phyllis appears to be grappling with a bad case of PTSD, given that she's triggered by any interaction that makes her feel like the aforementioned lab rat. And things are only going to get worse. When Phyllis proved herself incapable of focusing on work because of her obsession with helping Daniel, Billy cut her from his hypothetical company, Abbott Communications. Then Daniel pushed her away and asked for space. This left her alone and fending off a panic attack in the park. What Phyllis doesn't know is that life is about to deal her yet another blow when her daughter Summer decides to leave Genoa City. If you thought Phyllis might be headed for a nervous breakdown before, you can bet that Summer's departure will hurry things along. What will the fallout be? Well, it's not looking good on two fronts. Nick and Sharon will soon return from their trip to London to visit Noah, and whether they've ruined it off-screen remains to be seen. But given how they were dancing around the idea of getting back together before they left, it's a definite possibility. However, if they arrive home to Phyllis having a breakdown, it's going to throw a monkey wrench into the works. Rather than focusing on romance, they'll be catapulted into a scenario where one or both of them need to support the redhead. Despite their newly forged truce, Sharon is sure to be none too pleased if Nick throws himself into his customary hero role for Phyllis. Billy, meanwhile, is still openly struggling with guilt over firing Phyllis. Despite doing the best thing for his company, it clearly didn't sit well in his conscience. Should Phyllis have a full-blown nervous breakdown, the guy is going to feel terrible and will feel obligated to be there for her. As one might imagine, Sally will not be a fan of this, particularly given she has been telling him he has no reason to be guilt-ridden. Should he insist on riding to Phyllis' rescue, it may not only impinge on his relationship with Sally, but pivot her away from accepting his offer to come and work with him. Phyllis is absolutely headed for a mammoth meltdown, and the only question that remains is who will help pick up the pieces, and what will the fallout be for that knight in shining armor. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Jolie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. At Jabot, Kyle tells Diane that Claire won't be moving in with them at home. It would be another slap in Victor's face. Diane thinks he could use a metaphorical slap in his face, and Claire could be just the one to give it to him. Kyle doesn't want the mustache going after them. Diane complains that Claire should be full of joy, not constantly looking over her shoulder, worrying that her grandfather will take that joy away. It's so twisted. She rants about the Newmans bending over backward to please Victor. They debate the point, and Kyle says Claire is determined to live on her own terms. Diane warns Victor won't stop. Kyle's sure Claire will chip away at him one small victory at a time. Diane hopes she knows what she's up against. At the tack house, Victoria grabs Cole's jacket to take him to the doctor. Claire tells her dad to take it easy. Victoria decides to call the doctor, let him know about the symptoms, and that they're on their way. Getting Cole's coat on, he tells Claire and Victoria to stop fussing over him. Undeterred, they help him up to get him to the car. Claire hangs back as they take off, with Victoria saying she'll let her know. At Society, Summer asks Sally if she knows why Chelsea called this meeting. Sally's not sure. She'd be the first person she'd tell. Summer apologizes. Chelsea arrives and tells them this won't take long. She wants to run something by them and asks that they keep an open mind. Summer gushes about how impressed and proud she's been with their team. She then asks what Chelsea wants to run by them. Chelsea says she's been given a job offer, which means she could be leaving Marchetti. Sally's eyes widen. Summer asks if another fashion house is trying to poach her. Chelsea doesn't want to get into specifics right now. She insists she's happy at Marchetti. Summer says she must be having some doubts, or she wouldn't want to leave. Chelsea explains it's a totally new direction. Sally has a feeling she knows what the job is. She knows how Adam's mind works. He's asked you to work with him at Newman Media, hasn't he? Sally explains that Adam doesn't trust a lot of people. He finds those he cares about to fill that role. Sally's sure this is the next logical step for her ex. Summer asks Chelsea point blank if she's planning to leave Marchetti for Newman Media. Chelsea isn't ready to divulge that yet and doesn't think it makes a difference. Summer argues that it does. If she loses her, it's a serious blow. Chelsea doesn't want to leave her in the lurch. But if she does leave, she thought Sally might want to expand her role beyond Marchetti Z. She has full confidence she could handle it. She would never want to put Summer in a bad position. Summer asks Sally how she'd feel about adding creative director to her job description. Sally gawps at her. Sally finally says it's definitely something to think about. It could be a good fit. Summer thinks so too. She'd hate to lose Chelsea, but if that's what's going to happen, she'd be confident with Sally stepping in. Sally appreciates the vote of confidence. There are just some things she needs to work through first. I have had an offer of my own. Summer gawps. Is she being courted by a competitor? Sally says not at all. She marvels that she was thinking if she took the job, Chelsea could take over Marchetti's. Summer can't believe this. She could be losing both of her lead designers at the same time. At the club, Lauren tells Michael she's happy to catch up. She feels like they haven't spent time together in days. She learns he spoke to Jack and is sure he heard all about Diane's renovations. Michael admits it wasn't a purely personal visit. Victor's amping up his war against Jabba, and he gave Jack a heads up. Lauren exclaims that he's Victor's sworn enemy. When he warns Jack, he crosses into enemy territory. Michael's trying to navigate the situation to the best possible outcome. Lauren guarantees he just made it worse. When Victor finds out, this will bite him in the ass. And then what? Lauren can't understand why her husband wants more trouble. Michael refuses to see this as crossing enemy lines. Lauren reminds him that Victor expects confidentiality, which means not going to Jack. Michael sees himself as a secret go-between. Left to their own devices, what would those two men be capable of? Think about the collateral damage. Lauren warns he's in the middle, which is a dangerous place to be. If Victor finds out, he'll be infuriated. The casualty of his war will be Michael. The lawyer is sure he'll never find out, because I have a plan. Lauren tells Michael he's a brilliant attorney, but when it comes to Victor and plans, she's not confident. She points out he stayed the night Victor was shot by Ian Ward and has felt Victor's wrath many times. Have you not learned your lesson yet? She asks what he's up to. He won't tell her. She'll shoot it down. He announces he's over it. Lauren suggests he then listen to her plan. Remove yourself altogether, and you tell Victor you quit. Michael will honor his allegiance to Victor. Lauren rants that people he cares about will get hurt. Michael maintains he knows what he's doing. He'll stick around, partly to prevent a disaster. Lauren gawps that he thinks he's the hero in this. Diane walks up and Lauren urges her husband to tell her what they were talking about. Diane's curious. Why would she be interested in what they're talking about unless it has to do with her or Jack? She guesses it has to do with Jack and Michael's evil master. Michael declares the discussion over. Diane says it's not and asks where his allegiance lies, with his friends or the man who signs his checks. She trots off, and Michael asks Lauren why she'd put him in a spot like that. Lauren had to light a fire under him to do the right thing. She doesn't like what working for Victor is doing to him. Tearing up, she says this scares her. Michael asks, "Why are you doing this?" Lauren's starting to wonder if Diane is right. Is your allegiance really with Victor and not your friends who you say are so important to you? Michael is trying to protect them all. Either she doesn't understand or she refuses to. At Crimson Lights, Audra tells Victor she needs her funding. He complains that she hasn't made a single move against Kyle Abbott yet. She lets him know how much she wants this deal and swears she'll never flip to Kyle's side, not after the way he betrayed her. She needs to start building her company and get office space and employees. Victor says it will come in time. Audra stresses that it's part of her plan to get to Kyle. Victor doesn't want to know the details. She repeats that funding is critical if she's going to see this true. Victor will deposit part of the seed money everything she makes progress. The sooner she makes it clear Kyle is hurting his granddaughter, the more funding she'll get. Audra muses, "You don't trust me at all, do you?" Victor says, "Not at all." Audra asks what she has to do to show him he can trust her. He tells her she must get results. Audra tells him the new company will be called Vibranti. Victor likes it. He asks for the number of her corporate account. She asks if he'll be putting up some money as a sign of good faith. Victor tells her when she takes Kyle down a peg, she'll get her first deposit. "I suggest you get busy." As he walks out, Kyle arrives, noting they were talking. He asks Audra why she isn't busy working on her new venture. She calls him a Nepo baby and claims she's just there for a caffeine boost. She needles him a little more and then tells him his time's up. Jabot's going to be in trouble. He's amused. Audra tells him Vibrant will launch firing on all cylinders. They'll outdo his old potions and lotions. They continue to banter until Kyle tells her many companies have tried to best Jabot. She'd be wise to learn from history. Her project doesn't stand a chance. Audra's excited about the future and won't share with the competition where she's at in the process. He's sure it's all in her imagination and taunts, "You don't know what you're doing." Audra says she does and reminds him he knows what she's capable of on every level. They banter some more, and she assures him she'll invite him to the launch party. He tells her every woman there will be wearing Jabot's lotions and potions. Claire arrives and Audra coos, "Ah, someone needs to turn that frown upside down." Claire asks why she's always so rude. Audra exits and Claire tells Kyle about her father being sick. She's worried it could be serious. Kyle assures her Cole will be fine. They kiss. Claire tells him he always knows how to make her feel better. From the patio, Audra watches them embrace. Sitting, Kyle tells Claire that Audra is moving forward with her cosmetics company and can't get over herself. She pretends to herself that Jabot should be worried. He suspects this isn't all coming from her. Someone's backing her. Claire asks if he suspects her grandfather is involved. Kyle admits that he does, but he has no proof. Claire tells him there's reason to worry. She just found out that her grandfather is back in business with Audra. This seems like a direct move against Kyle. Kyle arrives at Jabot and calls someone. "I need your help." He asks the person to find out everything they can about a startup called Vibrant and get back to him. After disconnecting, he gets on the laptop to look into it, mumbling that he has a pretty good idea who's behind it. Victor arrives at the ranch and calls out for Nikki. Getting no answer, he pulls out his phone and sends a text. At the club, Michael receives Victor's text asking to see him immediately. Lauren pulls the phone out of his hand. She tells her husband, "You know where I stand." You need to get out of this fight immediately. You're in the middle of something that's going to blow up, and you need to get out now, before it's too late. Michael exchanges a look with Diane, who's leaving with her takeout bag. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of May 5, 2025 are here. Fans can expect Cole Howard to get a diagnosis. That could lead to Claire Grace Newman facing a moral dilemma right when she's about to move in with Kyle Abbott. However, that could make Audra Charles unnecessary, leading to Victor Newman burning her all over again. Keep reading and let's talk about what is coming up next week in the CBS soap opera. Fans watched as Cole came back to Genoa City but had a troubling cough. That cough has gotten worse, and Victoria Newman insisted he go to the doctor. Cole will probably go next week, but could get a troubling diagnosis. It doesn't seem like that cough and the fatigue is from a cold, but perhaps something much worse. During the week of May 5, fans can expect Claire to face multiple threats. The first is Victor luring Audra into dividing Claire and Kyle. Nikki Newman plans to gently prepare Victor for the news. However, Victor is going to blow up and could even issue an ultimatum to his granddaughter. Meanwhile, Audra will be working to divide Kyle and Claire per Victor's orders. However, if Cole is dying, then Claire could cancel her plans to move in with Kyle. As Claire spends all her free time with Cole, Kyle could turn back to Summer Newman. In any case, it just looks like Audra is going to get burned by Victor once again. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Lily Winters has a secret admirer. Lily and fans might assume it's Damian Kane. What if it's someone else though? Over with Mariah Copeland, she's keeping a secret from Tessa Porter. Tessa might be troubled enough to open up to Daniel Romalotti Jr. After all, Tessa has helped support Daniel with his troubles lately. Daniel might agree that Maria seems to be hiding something, but could encourage Tessa to trust her wife. Also, Michael Baldwin will continue to make risky decisions that will infuriate Victor. Elsewhere, Adam Newman will learn that Chelsea Lawson is coming to Newman Media. White Adam will be thrilled with the idea of working with Chelsea. They have different agendas. The Young and the Restless spoilers and rumors tease it's a wrap over at the set of the CBS soap. Melissa Claire Egan, who plays Chelsea Lawson, revealed what could be a possible leak about the end of her character, or was it? Melissa began by telling fans that Elizabeth Hendrickson suggested she document this huge undertaking. She was taping a 3-episode storyline in which she had to memorize 51 pages of dialogue, mentioning a couple of her scene partners, but not necessarily what would happen. One person she mentioned was Eric Braden, who plays Victor Newman, and Melody Thomas Scott, who plays Nikki Newman. Considering currently, the storyline involves Chelsea and Adam Newman living in the new Newman Ranch house with their son, it makes sense. But what really gets people's attention and is causing fans to wonder is a scene of her lying on the sidewalk outside of Society. Some fan buzz in the comments of the Instagram story and its subsequent repostings, such as one on X, formerly known as Twitter, tell the tale. Some are confident Missy was just being silly and acting out being so exhausted she was acting out falling asleep on set. But if that's what she was doing, why sprawl out on a hard sidewalk outside of Society, and not on a comfy couch or bed on the Newman Ranch house set? A dark figure can be spotted through the door of the restaurant, possibly looking out at her dressed in a longish black coat. The face cannot be seen because of the lack of lighting. It's possible it's Adam. But what if it's Chelsea's attacker and she's unconscious? If an actor is leaving a show often, it's not announced until after their final scenes have aired. In this case, it will probably be around 6 weeks before viewers see it. The wording, "It's a wrap," was on the shot of Missy sprawled on the sidewalk outside of Society, with the dark figure appearing to be looking at her from inside the restaurant. Of course, even if Chelsea is unconscious in this shot, and it's part of an upcoming scene, it doesn't mean it's a permanent thing or the death of the character. On the other hand, it could be, But there's no fake blood or bruising, she's just lying there sprawled out, her purse beside her on the ground, but holding the handle. That could beg another question: was she poisoned or pregnant and fainted for that reason? Are we about to see a new side of Kyle's girl? When Claire first showed up on The Young and the Restless, she was a liar and a schemer, perfectly content to let her entire family die to help her twisted Aunt Jordan fulfill her agenda. Once the truth of her being poor, presumed dead Eve Nicole came out, Claire did a 180 and suddenly became a sweet, innocent ingenue who would never dream of doing a bad thing, saying a bad word, or entertaining a bad thought. But will the May 1 episode bring back the Claire viewers were intrigued by? Claire isn't stupid. She is, in fact, a survivor. Little Claire quickly figured out that the way to deal with her Aunt Jordan was to become whoever Jordan demanded she be. A liar and a schemer, perfectly content to let her entire family die. Then, once Jordan was out of the picture and Claire needed to get along with her new family, especially Grandpa Victor, she promptly turned into a sweet, innocent ingenue. In other words, everybody gets the Claire they want. Claire will make sure of that. Now that Claire is with Kyle, she has transformed herself into his preferred dream girl. She agrees with everything he says, she likes everything he likes, and she's a better mother to his son, Harrison, than either Kyle or Summer. Though, of course, she never lets Kyle know that. Everything was going swimmingly. Suddenly, on May 1, Claire and Audra got into a battle of barbs. Audra won so quickly, it wasn't even funny. Is it time for another Claire the Chameleon transformation? Claire was evil when she needed to be, sweet when she needed to be, humble when she needed to be. What if Claire now decides it's time to fight fire with fire where Audra is concerned? Audra is a shark, so Claire must become one too in order to fight her off. And who is the biggest shark Claire knows? Will the May 1 episode turn Victoria and Cole's little girl into none other than Jordan? For the Friday, May 2 episode of The Young and the Restless, spoilers photos show a day full of dramatic moments in Genoa City. They revolve around Summer as she appears to wrap things up. Summer shows up at the Abbott mansion. It looks like she takes in all of Diane's redecorating. She and Kyle have a discussion. Could he be telling Summer about his plans to live with Claire? Whatever it is, Summer looks decidedly unthrilled with the situation. Harrison comes down, and Summer talks to him. She gets down on his level, and everybody is smiling. He's probably catching her up on something he did. Later, Summer has a sit-down with Sally and Chelsea. Neither Sally nor Chelsea was too interested in continuing their work at Marchetti. Could this be the end of the fashion brand? Based on Lanier's announcement of her departure, this is her last episode as Nick and Phyllis' daughter. Perhaps Summer will depart Genoa City for a while. Check it all out in the slideshow below. What do you think is happening? Let us know in the comments below. Emotional tribute rocks Genoa City. Young and Restless cast honors Eric Braden's 45 years with tears, surprises, and one jaw-dropping reveal. Genoa City stood still as the stars aligned to honor a true television titan, Eric Braden, the legendary force behind Victor Newman, marking an astonishing 45 years on The Young and the Restless asterisk in an unforgettable night filled with heartfelt speeches, surprise appearances, and one shocking twist that left fans gasping. The cast and crew of Y&R pulled out all the stops to pay tribute to the man who is the heartbeat of the show. The tribute, filmed on set and later aired in a special segment, began with a dramatic black and white montage of Braden's most iconic moments as Victor Newman, from his ruthless boardroom takeovers to his unforgettable romantic entanglements. The music swelled, the lights dimmed, and then the crowd erupted as Braden stepped into the room to a standing ovation. Victor Newman changed the face of daytime television, executive producer Josh Griffith said, but Eric Braden gave him soul. Wearing a sharp black suit and fighting back emotion, Braden addressed the audience with signature charm and humility. Melody Thomas Scott brought the room to tears with her deeply personal tribute. Peter Bergman also took the mic, raising eyebrows and glasses as he toasted his on-screen nemesis. Even actors who had long since left the show returned in surprise appearances, including Victoria Rowell, Doug Davidson, and Jess Walton, sparking a wave of nostalgia that sent fans into overdrive on social media. But the biggest moment of the night, a secret announcement from CBS that stunned even Braden himself. The Young and the Restless soundstage is being officially renamed the Eric Braden Studio in his honor. Gasps filled the room as the curtain dropped to reveal a gleaming plaque bearing his name, a permanent symbol of his monumental legacy. "I'm speechless," Braden said, clearly emotional. "You have no idea what this means to me. I love this show. I love this cast. I love our fans. You're the reason I'm still standing here." The tribute quickly trended worldwide, with fans posting memories, favorite scenes, and personal messages under hashtags like #VictorNewman45 and #ThankYouEricBraden. One fan tweeted, "My grandma watched Victor Newman. My mom watched him. Now I do. This man is history." Another wrote, "There's no Y and R without Eric Braden. Period." Insiders hint that this tribute may not be the end, but the beginning of a powerful new storyline for Victor. Rumors swirl of a massive arc involving a corporate coup, a secret heir, and a blast from the past that could upend everything. As Claire leaned on Kyle for support, Victor pulled Audra's strings to strike at the Abbotts, and Kyle vowed to fight back. The Young and the Restless recap for Thursday, May 1 sees lines drawn as Kyle protects Claire from Victor's grip, Audra fires warning shots, and Chelsea and Sally face choices that could upend Marchetti. At Jabot, Kyle told Diane about Claire's excitement over the house remodel and his firm decision not to move in. As much as he wanted a future with Claire, he wasn't about to hand Victor another reason to go after her. The last thing he wanted was to let Victor weaponize their relationship. Diane was frustrated by the family dynamic. Despite being full-grown adults, Victoria and the others still bent over backward to appease their father. Kyle vowed to help Claire reclaim her independence, one subtle act of rebellion at a time. At the Tack House, Cole's health took a turn as Victoria and Claire tried to shuffle him out the door and off to the doctor. His apologies and raspy coughs filled the air, making it clear this was more than a passing illness. Meanwhile, over at Crimson Lights, Audra was thrilled to run into Victor. She'd been trying to get his attention and wanted funding for her new company, Vibrant. But Victor wasn't budging, not unless she started actively demeaning Kyle. He didn't care for the details of her plan, just the results. Every jab at Kyle would earn a payout, he said. Audra swore she was committed, but Victor didn't trust her as far as he could throw her. After he walked off, Kyle showed up, and the two sparred. Audra called him a Nepo baby, bragged about her up-and-coming brand, and told him his time was up. Kyle reminded her how many companies had tried and failed to challenge Jabot, even Newman Cosmetics. She clearly didn't know what she was doing, he said. Audra relished the attention and fired back before Claire arrived. Claire shared that Cole was really sick and on his way to the doctor. Kyle reassured her, wrapping her in a hug and a kiss. But as they tried to regroup emotionally, Audra lurked nearby, eavesdropping. They took a table and discussed Audra and her supposed startup. Kyle suspected she had backing, and Claire confirmed it. Her grandfather was involved. Later, Chelsea sat down with Summer and Sally at Society. She asked them to keep an open mind before dropping her news. She'd been offered a new job. Summer was stunned. Chelsea reassured her it wasn't about leaving for another fashion house. This was about growth and a fresh challenge. Sally immediately suspected Adam. Chelsea didn't want to abandon Marchetti without a succession plan. She floated the idea of Sally stepping into her role. Summer asked how Sally felt about taking on the creative director title. Sally was flattered but cautious. she had an offer of her own to consider. Summer reeled at the possibility of losing both designers in one fell swoop. Meanwhile, Michael and Lauren had a tense lunch at the club. He admitted his recent meeting with Jack wasn't just social. He was trying to act as a secret buffer between Jack and Victor. Lauren warned him this would blow up in his face. She'd seen this before and feared he was slipping further under Victor's control. Michael insisted he was trying to keep the peace, but Lauren wasn't buying it. She offered a simple solution: quit working for Victor. Michael saw it as an ultimatum. Diane showed up mid-conversation and quickly caught on that the topic involved the evil master. The women pushed back on Michael's loyalty, questioning whether he stood by his friends or by the man who signed his checks. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, May 2, prove that Victor never, ever learns. He yelled, screamed, and pouted at Michael for not being as bad as Victor needed him to be, and now it was Adam's turn to receive the same treatment. Victor thinks he's the most wonderful, brilliant, sexy person who ever lived. Everybody should want to be just like him. He's confused for a minute when they refuse, and then he starts foaming at the mouth. How dare people not want to be like him? Who do they think they are, wanting to be themselves? Even if they are still putting Victor first, that's not nearly enough. You got that? Michael will come around eventually. What choice does he have? In the meantime, Adam has been allowed to think for himself long enough. Victor has a new plan of action, so hop to it. Yeah, it's vaguely immoral and probably illegal. But it's for Victor. So what's the holdup? Chelsea and Adam are back together. That means any and all thoughts Chelsea is now allowed to have must be about Adam or his adjunct Connor. Adam and Chelsea are going to work together too, which means his success is her success. But when Chelsea makes a bold move, will her crimes be his crimes too? Daniel doesn't want to work for Billy. This has caused Phyllis to melt down. First, she ordered Billy to hire her son, whether he wants it or not. When that failed, and Phyllis insisted they were a package deal, Billy shrugged and fired Phyllis too. That's when she became truly unhinged. Sure, she says this is all about Daniel, but we feel pretty confident it's not. Everything Phyllis does is about Phyllis, so when she says she's worried about Daniel's future, we can safely assume it's actually about hers.